Let me begin by apologizing to all of you for, due to unavoidable circumstances, I am unable to join you today in Kakamega. But let me also take this opportunity to thank the Almighty God for the gift of rain after 3 years of consecutive drought, and indeed to remind all of us that even as we commiserate with those who have lost loved ones as a result of the rains, the need for us all to harvest these rains so that they can be a blessing to each and every one of us during future droughts. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is upon us. And as I will refer to later, it is for us as leaders to adapt to changing climate conditions as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, 8 years ago, we ushered in a new constitutional dispensation. Very few could have imagined that we would be where we are today. All of you in this beautiful county of Kakamega, celebrating 5 transformative years of devolution. There are indeed many doubting Thomases out there who did not expect a democracy as young as ours to so effectively manage the most fundamental change in our governance since independence. But to the surprise of many, in a short period of years, we have firmly established a new tier of government and held 2 sets of elections to it. Indeed, as has been stated by some, more than R1 trillion have been transferred to counties to bring essential government services closer to the people. And in those 5 years, we have established legislative processes firmly rooted in our county assemblies. And another encouraging achievement, ladies and gentlemen, is that in the last election, Kenyans honored and elected as governors 3 very distinguished ladies. This indeed is yet another milestone in our political history, a reflection of how far we have come as a people and how our democracy has matured. I, like many other Kenyans, look forward to a future when at least half the leaders in the room that you're in will be women. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished governors, our presence in Kakamega, celebrating our devolved system of government, shows not just the resilience of our people, but also their aspiration to see their nation thrive and prosper. Indeed, let us take a moment to celebrate this phenomenal achievement, and most importantly, to celebrate our people in every corner of our country. Let me take this opportunity to thank Governor Oparanya, Governor of the Green Jewel, Governor of the Bullfighters of Kenya, and indeed, Governor Oparanya, I await your invite to the next bullfight. I also take this opportunity to thank the county government of Kakamega, as well as all the leaders from Kakamega, for so graciously hosting all Kenyans in your county today and the subsequent days of this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that devolved governments are finding their feet, and in so doing, also transforming the lives of communities that they serve, all for the better. Today, Makueni, under the leadership of Governor Kivutha Kibwana, has made good progress in rolling out its version of subsidized healthcare and in fruit processing too. In Mandera, child mortality has halved due to the county's investment in medical facilities. And in Kapenguria, we now have our first medical training college in that county. We owe that success, first and foremost, to the diligence of our people and to the leaders present in Kakamega, as well as their predecessors. And I extend our warmest thanks to each and every one of you for this success so far. But ladies and gentlemen, we must also be careful not to be complacent. We still have a long way to go in truly realizing the development goals that we have set for ourselves in our 2030 vision blueprint. What is important is that we now have 5 years of experience on which to build the next phase of devolved government. Let me underline that we will live up to the expectations of Kenyans only if we consult, coordinate, and communicate better. All of us were chosen to fulfill the will of the Kenyan people. Therefore, in our different capacities, we must all work closely to tackle any challenges standing in the way of a better Kenya for our people. Ladies and gentlemen, last year, as I mentioned in another forum, I had the privilege of meeting Kenyans right across the country. And everywhere I went, young and old alike shared their hopes and dreams for the Kenya they wished to see. It was clear Kenyans shared common desires. We all want to live in dignity. We all want to be engaged in rewarding enterprises. We all want the very highest standard of nutrition. And we all want affordable and high-quality health care for our families. Or, which I don't believe, is there anyone amongst us who would settle for less? Every year, this devolution conference gives us an opportunity as leaders to combine our strengths for the good of our country. This year's conference is no different, and today I come to you with a very specific agenda, one that transcends the usual political imperatives. Ladies and gentlemen, as has been commented severally by many of you so far, it is no secret that our resource envelope is highly constrained. We must therefore all be prudent. Every cent of revenue collected must return maximum impact on the welfare of our taxpayers. It goes without saying that we need to candidly discuss how to maximize the benefits that can be delivered or derived by the national government and county governments working closer together. And that depends on three critical prerequisites. First, we must streamline our intergovernmental relationships to exist and thrive beyond merely debating matters of resource allocation. Our framework for cooperation and coordination needs to be strengthened and lifted above partisan and transactional engagements to focus more on the strategic issues of development which matters most to our people. Second, we need to de-risk the political environment across the country. Left unchecked, our political intrigues can grow into a big tree under whose shade nothing can take root. We must all agree that there will be a season of politics, but that season is not with us now. It is now time to work to create wealth and prosperity for our people. At every level of our political structures, I urge each and every one of you to engage each other on the basis of issues. If it becomes necessary to disagree, let us disagree without poisoning the environment for Kenya's progress. And thirdly, we must aspire towards strategic alignment of our national development goals. While every county government has its own agenda, it is necessary to align that agenda with a national blueprint that we all have agreed on, that is Vision 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, when I conceptualized the Big Four, I did so in appreciation of the fact that for us to accelerate the achievement of our Vision 2030, we would need to take a new approach to our medium-term planning and focus on those issues that would have the greatest impact on the well-being of all our people. I therefore stand here today before you, not only to ask for your support, but to convince you that working with the national government to deliver on the Big Four agenda will be beneficial for each one of you as individual governors, and also for the people whom you represent, both in the near and long term. After all, when we look at our respective manifestos, all we see are plans that were not too different from the Big Four agenda. Let us work together, governors, then to serve the Kenyans whose hopes we were elected to accomplish. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to talk very briefly about the Big Four, specifically about the elements that require closer intergovernmental collaboration. We can begin by getting clear on what the plan entails. The first priority of the Big Four is to grow our manufacturing sector and to raise its contribution to gross domestic product from 9% to 15%. Under this pillar, we will focus on the following key areas, notably agro-processing, fish processing, leather, textiles, apparels, iron and steel, oil, mineral and gas, and construction materials. Our focus is on those sectors whose value chains will provide opportunities for our people and therefore create more jobs. For example, in doubling our textile manufacturers for the AGOA export market, we expect to create upward of 100,000 jobs at various levels, from cotton farms and ginneries to stitching facilities. As you all know, last week I was in the United Kingdom to attend the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. There, I spent most of my time pushing for Kenya's agenda to significantly raise our share of exports in the global export trade. I sought to persuade investors in agro-processing and value addition in tea and coffee, asking investors to relocate their facilities to Kenya so that Kenyan tea and coffee would be processed within our borders for the benefit of our farming communities. I also sought to establish new opportunities for Kenya's blue economy by seeking partnership with countries like Canada, who are ready and willing to help us establish the industries necessary to exploit our vast maritime resources. I also engaged with India, amongst many other countries, with their commitment to buy green gram and other such products from our farmers. However, ladies and gentlemen, all these opportunities will count for nothing if we don't come together to create an environment for these investments to take root. And in this context, I wish to make two very specific requests in support of the manufacturing agenda. The first is for the deliberate harmonization of all fees and levies relating to business. We in the national government have waived or simplified levies that hinder small businesses. However, still, 70% of the levies that remain are payable to county governments. I believe we can do better working together. The second is more of an offer than a request. I have directed our Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender to avail space in our Huduma centers for any county government that wishes to bring under one roof its systems for issuing business permits and physical planning approvals. This, I believe, and I hope you will agree with me, will make life easier for our people. You will be pleased to note that the county government of Nairobi will be the first to put this offer on trial. Ladies and gentlemen, as I intimated earlier in my statement, the painful lessons of the recent drought and the current floods and the adverse impact of climate change inform my second priority: achieving food and nutrition security by 2022. We must accept today that rain-fed agriculture will not provide sufficient food for our country. We must also recognize that urbanization, speculative real estate practices, and poor physical planning are depleting already scarce arable land. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a challenge we must confront head-on as part of our strategy to realize our commitment to deliver on food security. Our Kenyans expect no less than 100% food and nutrition security, and we must deliver this by 2022. This, governors, is no minor responsibility. Devolved governments are now owners of the last mile when it comes to addressing questions of productivity at the farm level. Indeed, to have any impact in the next 4 years, we must progress our thinking beyond subsidies that, contrary to the intended objective, only benefit the rich instead of our small-scale farmers. We must rely more on scientific data to drive our policy interventions on input subsidies and strategic food reserves. We must empower our farmers with the information necessary to increase their output per acre, reduce their unit cost of production, and therefore significantly improve returns on their investment. As national government, we must find ways to support you to resolve the necessary crop or to revive the necessary crop and livestock extension services, which hold the key to improved productivity. For the cost of food to drop, we must think about necessary innovation to increase yields significantly, as well as mechanization and scale. All empirical evidence has shown that for the production of our staples, the bigger the land under cultivation, the better. For those of us in the national government, as well as county governments, who are responsible for setting the necessary policies and regulating the agricultural sector, we have no choice but to open ourselves to new ideas and benchmark our standards with countries that are food sufficient. Today, for example, there is no reason for a potato farmer in a place like Nyandarua, Njoro, Kaptagat, to struggle with seeds that can only produce 7 bags an acre, when our neighbors in Ethiopia are harvesting 21 bags an acre. This, to say the least, is indeed embarrassing for a nation that was up to that standard in the 1970s. The biggest obstacle to food security, it is worth noting, is not a lack of knowledge or skill. It is the elevation, unfortunately, of self-interest above the public good. Today, I have directed my Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture that his ministry must now do the right thing. He must collaborate with every county government to give your farmers the support that they need to make an honest living off their land. The misguided preoccupation with sugar, maize, and fertilizer imports must come to an end. Let us work together and put our brains to work. Ladies and gentlemen, the third priority is health. We all aim that by 2022, we give every family in our republic access to affordable health care. Again, I must admit that this is no small task, and it will require a reimagining of the status quo. In defining this aspiration, I recognize that county governments are at the closest point of inflection when it comes to the provision of health services at the grassroots. There will be need for a lot of hard work. There will also be the hard work of financing this dream and restructuring all institutions critical to its success. We will have to improve the quality of our facilities and manage the cost and quality of drugs. We will also have to train and recruit more doctors and nurses. Equally, all of us will have to work together to fit existing programs into the new plan. Still, I believe all this work will be well worth the effort we put into it. A win in healthcare today is a decisive win for generations to come. The fourth priority, of course, of the big four is housing. I have said it before, but I'll say it again. Kenyans made it clear that they want to live in decent homes. They elected us, convinced that we could fulfill their will. Therefore, you and I must come together. We must create the environment for 500,000 new houses to be built over the next 5 years to fulfill the dream of our people. There can be no illusions. This part of the plan also calls for very substantial work, not least because it is the most ambitious building program that this country has witnessed in decades. We will have to cut the cost of mortgages. We will have to cut the cost of construction. And we will have to raise cheaper and more patient capital. Equally important, we will certainly have to invest in the institutions, not least our technical training institutions, that the construction industry shall demand. Already, my State Department for Housing is engaging individual county governments who wish to join in the early phase of the housing project. We are ready to work with those counties that are willing to co-invest within the set development framework. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is perhaps the most ambitious agenda in Kenya's history. But it is equally fair to say that it will remain just that, an agenda, if we do not come together in common endeavor. None of us can stand aside waiting for others to do the heavy lifting. This plan will work only if we come together. Of course, we must be practical. We cannot do everything at once. And so today, fellow leaders, I ask all of you to begin the transformation by considering healthcare. I say so because I think all of us can see that of the priorities I have just identified, it is healthcare that troubles Kenyans most. Indeed, all of us here, in one way or another, will have contributed to a medical harambee, so none of us can doubt just how much Kenyans want affordable health care for their families. I thank and commend the Chair of the Council of Governors, Governor Nanok, who I have just heard pledge and commit to work together with the national government on delivery of our healthcare pledge. It is therefore time for us to replace the patchwork coverage we now have with a universal plan that covers every single Kenyan family. I know it is ambitious, But Kenyans chose us because they believe in our ability to deliver. On my part and on the part of the national government, we are already at work. Just the other day, we announced that Kisumu, Isiolo, Machakos, and Nyeri would be the first 4 counties to participate in our pilot program that will test 100% cover. We considered it, and I want you to understand, we considered it better, as I am sure any reasonable person would, to start with a pilot before taking the entire program to cover all the counties. I know that some of you have asked already why these counties and not others. Why were these the counties chosen? This, I accept, is a valid concern. The criteria we developed were informed by the empirical evidence on important parameters, notably the disease burden in each county, its population density, and its risk of emergencies. These counties top the list, and that is why we chose to begin with them. And to those counties, I say this: precedence also comes with responsibilities. Those registered will be entitled to NHIF Super Cover Plan, which takes care of your primary medical care, whether inpatient or outpatient. But let me also say this: like you, I too have a government to run. And I know that handling complicated recruitment routines can be tricky. I also know that it would be wrong to ask you to carry the entire burden alone. And therefore, to aid you, I also today hereby direct that the National Hospital Insurance Fund will assign enrollment officers to all counties. And further, I also direct that the State Departments of Interior and Social Protection will instruct their officers to support you in the enrollment process. Ladies and gentlemen, this pilot healthcare program relies on public funds, and its success in the 4 counties will hasten its rollout elsewhere. So I must state clearly that I will not, and I repeat, will not, entertain any delay in provisioning of resources, nor will I tolerate waste and corruption. We have covered Wanjiko, and I don't want to hear that she came to hospital and she found neither aspirin for her pain or a doctor to attend to her. I am certain also that I am not alone in wishing to see this program succeed. Kenyans, not just in these 4 counties, but right across the country, want to see this program work. They know that if it does, their lives and those of their children will be transformed for the better. Distinguished governors, you have your part to play today. And I ask you, with all humility, to work even more closely with us to maintain fiscal discipline, to keep records accurately, and to use the funds, the resources, and the personnel allocated to you in a manner that will assure Kenyans get maximum benefit. For those not in the first trial, prepare yourselves. We all want to see budgets, clear priorities, and management devoted solely to the health of your people. Let me also ask you at this stage to complete your payments to NHIF by the 31st of July this year. That is a deadline we cannot afford to miss, and which is why I have asked the National Treasury to work with each and every one of you so that we can meet this deadline. Honorable Governors, I had the privilege and pleasure to travel to Cuba recently with Governor Anyang' Nyong'o of Kisumu and Governor Mahmoud of Marsabit. I believe they can bear true testimony to what we saw and what we can aspire to be. Let us work together and achieve this noble objective for our people. And as we do so, I want to see each and every one of you preparing your facilities so that they are ready to receive medicines and medical supplies when the time comes. But above all, I ask each and every one of you to lead. Lead in investing more in health and show by example that you truly value the lives of the Kenyans who chose us to lead them. Ladies and gentlemen, I now return to the matter of intergovernmental cooperation. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Ours is an extraordinary, ambitious agenda, and we have little more than 4 years in which to deliver it. There is absolutely no time to waste. Kenyans want to see results, not recrimination. They want integrity, not corruption. They want prudence, not profligacy. Indeed, Governor Nanok has addressed this issue in his statement that he's just concluded. That this issue is an issue of leadership, not an issue of politics. Corruption is corruption. It has no tribe, it has no clan, it has no religion, it has no family. We must deal with it together as a nation. And those who are guilty must carry their individual cross and should no longer hide behind a cocoon or within a cocoon of tribal or clan politics. You stole alone, and you carry the cross alone. Kenyans too are also tired of political bickering. They want both levels of government, as well as all 3 branches of government, to work together, fully accepting our independence, but recognizing our interdependence. We all have shared responsibilities in realizing the national goals as set out in our Vision 2030 blueprint. So let me also speak bluntly. There is neither room nor time for public servants who care for anything other than serving Kenyans. We in the national government will back this resolution with all that we have. People will be sacked. People will leave their jobs. There are other Kenyans ready to take up those portfolios. All we expect from our civil servants is deliverables, failure to which you will make room for others who have more commitment to that objective. Today, I am also happy as part of furthering our intergovernmental relations and in support of our county governments, glad to announce that we are launching today the Kenya Devolution Support Program and the Kenya Urban Support Program. Both combined will inject Kenya shillings 50 billion into our county governments to help you build and improve the systems that support your staff who are willing to work and to support you in the delivery of services to our people. It is worth underscoring that these funds are performance-based, conditional grants that are extended to the county governments by the national government. And just like us in the national government, you must also strive to perform to the very highest standards and must be ready to take a stern view also of public servants who give in to lethargy and sloth. Let us work together to ensure that those who are on the payroll of the Kenyan taxpayer, be they in the national government or county governments, are doing that which is bettering the lives of our people and not just themselves. Indeed, adoption of this program demonstrates my administration's commitment to a devolution that truly works, that truly serves every single Kenyan. The time for full cooperation with each other is now. This is important to ensure that we all succeed in executing the Big Four agenda. Now, we in the national government understand as clearly as you do that delivery of the Big Four demands a rethink of our institutions. We will have to establish effective arrangements for planning and implementing the programs and projects about which I have spoken about today. And that is why you and I together will need to strengthen the summit, the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, and the Intergovernmental Sectoral Forums to make them more efficient and effective channels for delivering on the Big Four. As I can see, we all have much to think about and much to do. But let me close my address today by reminding each and every one of you of one idea that will not lead us astray. if only we hold on to it. Madaraka Day is almost upon us. On that first day of June 1963, our forefathers took control of government for the very first time. We, as independent Kenyans, began to govern and to determine our destiny. The spirit of that day lives on in devolution. For it is in devolution that every Kenyan plays a full part in championing the affairs of this great nation. If you are a leader today, it is because the true holders of Madaraka, the people of Kenya, trust you to lead them. In the end, all that matters is that you serve them to the very best of your ability. On my part, as I have said severally, I will continue to reach out to all leaders so that we can protect and defend this country's most precious assets, and that is our people and our unity. I ask you all to join me in reaching out to all leaders in your counties, as I have done at the national level. If you do, you will have served your country well. And Kenyans, I believe, expect no less. May God grant each and every one of you the wisdom to serve this great nation, and may He bless this country that we all love. I now take this opportunity to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, Eugene Wamalwa, to, on my behalf, push the button launching the Kenya Devolution Support Program, and to wish each and every one of you a most successful conference, and I look forward to meeting you in the very near future at our summit as we continue to chart the way forward for a greater, more prosperous, more inclusive Kenyan society. May God bless you all, and may God bless Kenya. Thank you very much.